Hey guys, what's up? NitroCode99 here, and today I'm going to be doing a video showing the two newest supercars versus one of the oldest supercars in the game, the T20 versus the 811 and the X-80 Proto, seeing which cars are faster both on a drag strip course and on a real racetrack. Okay, so first off, all three of these cars are my personal vehicles, and they are fully modified, okay? And so the times you see here are going to be accurate to what you have whenever you fully modify the cars. And up first, guys, we have the king of racing, the T20. If you want a fast race car, this is the one you get before the new update came out. Everybody has one of these if you've made a little bit of money. They're pretty expensive, but they're worth it for the price. But it's time here, modded out. Everything maxed out on it, 33.68. Good solid time for a 1 mile track. Up next, we have the newest car in the, well, second newest supercar in the game, the X-80 Proto. There was so much hype about this car. So many people were excited about it and were hyping it up and just ready for this car to come out. And it's $2.7 million, and it cost around $3 million once you mod it out. Like, if you buy all the engine upgrades, armor upgrades, brakes, transmission, turbo, really neat paint jobs like what I did, and then like the body modifications, the thing can be around $3 million. And if you don't have that kind of money to just throw around, I mean, it's not really that much worth it. I mean, it's a cool looking car. Yes, it's fast, but I don't think it's worth that money. As you can see here, its time is going to be coming in at 31.834. Moving on to, surprisingly, the fastest car on this test track, the Pfister 811. And I say surprisingly because you would think the more money you pay, the faster car you're getting. Like the T20, it's fast. It's not faster than the X-80. Of course, it's cheaper than the X-80, but the X-80 is $2.7 million, whereas the Pfister 811 is $1.135 million. Okay, just over $1 million. So it's going to cost about 1.4 mil to fully modify this car. That's half of what it costs to do the X-80 Proto. And as you can see here, fully modded out, this car is insanely fast. It actually has a faster time than the X-80 did. Okay, that's insane for how cheap this car is, and there wasn't even that much hype built up around it. I felt like this car was going to be good from the beginning. I saw pictures of it. I looked up the real version online. I saw how fast it was. I just thought it was going to be great. But coming in at second place, surprisingly, we have the X-80 Proto with a time of 31.834. First place, we have the 811 with 31.99, fastest time. And then the king, the T20, we have the time of 33.68. Now, I know what you may be thinking. That isn't an accurate representation of what these cars can perform like in a race. So I went ahead and I made a handling test track, I think is what I named it, and it's full of lots of sharp turns, straightaways, and a couple of other unique, challenging parts of a track that will show how a car will perform in a race, and that's what you're about to see. Okay guys, so this is the handling test track that I made myself. First up we have the 811. This track takes place at the airport, and I used some of the runways as like the racetrack, but I put barriers up so that I would know if I like went outside of the lines and stuff. And we're not only going to be looking at the lap times, but we're also going to be looking at the braking. So watch my taillights whenever I start to brake in the corners, and in 2 or 3 of the turns, I don't quite remember, they were very sharp, and I use the handbrake to drift around them or power slide around them. So, but pay attention to where I brake, how long it takes me to slow down enough to make the turn, and how fast I can accelerate back up down the straightaways. I figured this would be a better, more accurate way of testing the cars against each other rather than just a drag race, because whenever you are looking for a good race car, you want it to perform well in all types of scenarios. And so I figured this would be a great way to do it. And those 2 turns right there are the ones that I believe I use the handbrake on most of the time. I think there was one coming up right up here where I used it, and maybe, let's see, kinda, not really, but this track is, I felt like it was a very good representation of how the cars would perform in a race. So coming in with the time of the Pfister 811, we have the time of 106.532. Alright, next up guys, we have the X-80 Proto, the Ferrari thingamajigger, and this car was very quick. It surprisingly had a like the exact same time as the 811 on this track did, but driving it, I felt like I was going so much faster than I did with the 811. I don't know if it was because of the acceleration, but I felt like whenever I drove this car, okay, so this is how I feel, and each vehicle has a different driving like feel to it in game. Whenever I would accelerate, this thing would rocket. It would launch out of turns, okay? But coming into them, whenever I would brake, I would hit the brakes and I would slowly slow down, and then it got to a point where it just all of a sudden just lurched almost to a stop. And you can see that in those turns that we just went through. And then also the drifting, it wasn't very much, it didn't drift very well. Like, I think I did it a little better in that one, but it doesn't drift that well in it. And I didn't really like that, because even though I know it's like supposed to be super fast or whatever, I like it to be able to drift a little bit, and I could barely drift at all, and it kind of upset me. But I was kind of disappointed in this car, even though it had a very fast time. It was the exact same time as the 811, but take that in mind whenever you go to purchase one of these two cars. As you can see here, it has the exact same time as the 811, and there's about $1.5 million difference in the price. Okay, so last not least, we have the T20 coming up in the rear. It had the slowest time out of the two, or out of the three, what do you know? And but this car, it's always going to be good. All three of these vehicles, I think, will stand neck and neck whenever it comes to racing. It really does just depend on the driver. But if you're new to GTA and you want a good solid race car, if that's what you enjoy doing in GTA like me, if you like racing, the T20 is not a bad option to pick, because it slows down very good. It's all-wheel drive. It has very good grip and acceleration, okay? And it's kind of expensive, but you get a tremendous car, and it looks absolutely stunning. It's been around for a while, so like everybody knows everything about it. But as far as like if you're thinking, I think I want the 811, but I'm a brand new like player to GTA and I'm not that good at driving cars, and you want it for racing purposes, if you get it, make sure you learn how to drive it before you really do get serious about trying to race with it. But if you don't want to do that, or if you're just not good at racing, the T20 would be your option, because even though this car does come in last place on the handling test track and the drag test track, it is not very much slower on the handling test track. It actually does very good. As you can see, the time here is, whenever we see it, it is 106.666, and that is pretty close to the other cars' times. So coming in at first, tied for first and second, the X-80 had a time of 106.532, the 811 had a time of 106.532, and the T20 had a time of 106.66. In these last few little pictures, it shows the prices of the cars. But if you did enjoy this video, please hit that sub button, please hit that like button, and go tell your friends about it. Comment if you want to say anything, and I'll see you in the next one.